Hello, welcome back to Ask a Monk. Next question comes from Scott, who asks, would you mind telling me what the precise holidays in the Theravada tradition are? I know Uposatha, Magha Puja, Vesak, Dhamma Day, Pavarana Day and Anapanasati Day. Am I missing others? Well, first of all, I wouldn't worry too much about it, because obviously every day that you're mindful that you're practicing the Dhamma is a holiday, a holy day. It's only the Buddhist holidays are only a way of marking time, so that every so often we can get together and remember and be mindful of the Buddhist teaching and practice intensively. So the first Buddhist holiday is the Uposatha Day. In regards to the Uposatha Day, I think this is a clear example of how we shouldn't be too caught up on the idea of specific holidays. Because the Uposatha days are the lunar cycle. The full moon, the empty moon, the half moon. These were in India considered special days. So this is how they mark time. Nowadays, most people in the world have a different system. Our system is the 7-day week, the 12-month year, which has nothing to do with the Buddhist teaching. Nothing to do with there's nothing in the Buddhist teaching about it. There's no mention of how we should deal with this, because it's something that developed much later. It's a very artificial system as well. It's even more artificial because these months just sort of sprung up, and adding months, subtracting months, and fitting the weeks in there sort of haphazardly. It's really a fairly chaotic and useless system, but it happens to be the system in use, and it happens to have a great pull on our lives. So, what's the answer? Because we have a problem here. These holidays sometimes, oftentimes, arrive on weekdays when most people are working. So even here in Buddhist countries, it's very difficult for people to come for the Buddhist holidays. The full moon day, which is very important here in Sri Lanka, many people can't observe it. And so what's to be done? I think the key is what's been done in non-Buddhist countries, where they'll have the holiday on a weekend, of course, a Saturday or a Sunday. And even in non-sectarian or non-religious Buddhist circles, they'll have days of mindfulness. And of course, they do it on a Saturday or a Sunday. They might even have a weekend course where they do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think that is crucial in continuing the Buddhist teaching. It's never going to survive this tradition of lay people coming to the temple, the monastery, on a full moon day. Now, that being said, these are important from a monastic point of view. Obviously, we have no such restrictions, so we do observe the full moon, the empty moon, as our religious days, where we're to get together and to recite the rules of the monastic community, and maybe listen to Dhamma teaching and discussion and so on. But for lay people, I think it's much more profitable to fit it in with their work cycle. Every Sunday, people should come to the monastery, or Saturday, or whatever you want to choose. Both Saturday and Sunday. I know in Western countries they'll do this. The Sri Lankan monasteries will have Sunday school, Buddhist Sunday school, which is great. That's crucial. Here in Sri Lanka, they do have a Saturday Dhamma school. I go to teach at it sometimes. But they still are doing the Poya Day, which is fine, but I think it's not the most important. It was not a Buddhist concept. It was something that the Buddha used, because that was the tradition. So that's the first and foremost is this weekly Uposatha, which we should adopt, but I think we should adopt it in a way that's suitable for us. Every Saturday you could pick, or every Sunday, where you are going to keep the Uposatha Sila, the 8 precepts of, celibacy, not eating in the afternoon, eating only in the morning, not listening to entertainment, not indulging in entertainment or beautification, and sleeping on the floor, not sleeping in a bed. Do that on a Saturday. Do that for 24 hours. Start Friday night and end Saturday night, or start Saturday morning before dawn and finish Sunday morning after dawn. So you can be sure that you have 24 hours. You have a full day. But as far as the tradition goes, if you want to know about the holidays, the ones that are generally agreed upon are 3. The Visakha Puja, the full moon of Visakha, which is called Vesak, but the Pali is Visakha. The full moon of Asalha, which you might be referring to by Dhamma Day. It's when the Buddha first taught, the full moon of Asalha, and the full moon of Magha, which is the day when the Buddha apparently gave the Ovada Patimokkha. So these 3 days. Visakha Puja is the day when the Buddha was born, the Bodhisattva was born, the Buddha became enlightened, Bodhisattva became the Buddha and became enlightened, and the day that he passed away into Parinibbana. Asalaha is when he first taught the Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutta, when he gave his first discourse, and someone who first became a Sotapanna, an enlightened being, or came to understand the Dhamma even on a basic level. And Asalha Puja, the Ovada Patimokkha, which is the core of the Buddha's teaching, that the refraining from bad deeds, the development of good deeds, and the purification of mind. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas. This was what the Buddha taught as the basic exhortation, the teaching that we should keep in mind as sort of fundamental. And it's a little bit longer than that, but it's worth looking up. Other holidays like Pavarana Day and Anapanasati Day, I think they're more local, and it changes, how they're observed, whether they're observed. There's a Devo Rohana, which is the day when the Buddha came down from heaven. Here in Sri Lanka, there's the day when Buddhism first came to Sri Lanka, which is of course only observed here in Sri Lanka. But I think these are cultural, and it's often quite disappointing to see how they're carried out. That often there's great pomp and celebration and music and many things that are actually contrary to the Buddha's teaching of introspection and sobriety and the scientific investigation of reality. So I wouldn't concern too much about the holidays. It's good to know the 3, so that you can use them as a yearly opportunity to think about the Buddha. But I would say it's much more important that we practice daily the Buddha's teaching, and at least weekly, that we have some sort of a special day where we undertake the precepts on a more fundamental level. So I hope that helps. I'm not fully able to answer your question. I'm not able to give a list. I don't think such a list exists, but for each country they do have their list. It's just not high on my, it's not something that I keep in my memory, except for the major ones, which I think you've covered. So I hope that helps. All the best.